Hello and welcome to the Final Bell, the official Geelong Cats podcast. We are brought to you by Panther Tyres, as we have been every single week. We love the support and really appreciate the support of the team at Panther Tyres. If you need anything for your car, tyres or whatever, go and check out the guys. They will look after you as they've done for us all year. That's why we've been able to bring you this podcast. So huge thanks to them. We're going to talk finals football. We're going to talk a massive win over Collingwood, which is very, very exciting. We're going to have a little chat about a retirement of, well, I'm going to call him a Collingwood player for now, but don't worry, in our chat, he'll be very much a Cats player, the two-time Premiership champ of the Cats. We'll get to your questions. We'll have a bit of fun because the two blokes that I'm with, I feel like they've got something up their sleeve. They've jumped on this Zoom, just full of energy and just a little twinkle in their eye. Mathew, Stokes and Scotty Gullan are with me. Hello, gentlemen.
Cameron, how are you going? How are you feeling after yesterday?
I'm very well, thank you.
You look well, Cameron. You look a bit flustered, actually.
You're a bit red.
Not at all, not at all.
Still recovering from something, Cameron?
What are you referring to there, Mathew? I did see you being a wonderful dad, as you are. Yep. That was little Franklin in the...
I take Franklin for a walk every day to get out of mum's hair. But I'm walking down the river, as I do, every day. And I see Dodgy. I saw Dodgy a couple of times now and give Dodgy a high five when she runs past. Your lovely wife. But then yesterday was just the best surprise ever. She's come past and 5 minutes later, she's like puffing and going, and he's back there. And then it would have been no joke. I won't put too much mail. It was about 3 minutes later. I'll come running around the corner, look like he's just done a 3K time trial. And Mr. Cameron Ling was there. How come you're so far behind him?
Well, listen, I'm going to spend this whole time pumping up Nicole, pumping up Nicole, and saying that she's just running world record times, and that's why I was a little bit further back.
Yep.
But yeah, as I rounded the corner at the river and just this silhouette loomed, and I thought, oh, hang on, I reckon I know that bloke pushing the pram along, being a wonderful dad on it. Oh, that's Stokesy. That's probably not the bloke I wanted to run into around the river right now. And I didn't even have, it's not even like I saw you coming from a K away so I could put in a big sprint and look really good. I'd just come around the bend and bang, you were there, which meant you'd caught me in almost in neutral. I was pretty much stalled. Scotty, I'll blame the fact that I was with my 3-year-old who was on a scooter, and I'll blame that I was just waiting for him, Scotty.
Okay, right. But
rather than the fact I couldn't keep up.
So your wife is just whipping you around the running track as well, Cameron. This is disturbing, given such a warrior you were of your career, renowned for your determination.
So she's a better drinker. Seen her dancing, her singing the other night on Instagram is better than your singing at Lammy's, and then she beat you in running. I mean,
wow, there's a power shift in this couple.
I've heard about this Instagram singing Friday night, whatever the hell it is. I get home from work clearly, and the house is.
Hang on, work.
She's
filming a
she's
TV
tucked in
ad.
bed. And only these people who have witnessed the Friday night shenanigans know that she's in good form. But, that's what I come home to. Mathew, I'm disappointed I ran into you around the river. I love seeing you. I always love seeing your smiling face. But you did not see me at my finest, I concede.
I've seen you in plenty worse positions than that, Cameron.
This is true. We've got to move on, Scotty, because I've got no defence. I've got zero.
I don't want to.
Let's talk about a dominant display. Saturday night footy, Cats taking on the Pies. The Pies coming off a brilliant win against the West Coast Eagles. The Cats coming off a loss against top place Port Adelaide. I went into the game, I sat down on the couch and thought, is this going to be a little bit of a battle? Pies match up fairly well, et cetera. About, I reckon, 5 minutes into the game, I thought, this is just going to be a fun night. This was gold. The Cats were dominant. Collingwood looked way off. And it was a superb performance by the Cats.
it was a performance from, a couple of months ago when they had that patch? It was like they just clicked back into gear again. Control the ball, but the mix of attack was there. It was, and I've probably got a few apologies because we were all a bit grumbly last week and we were calling for changes left, right and centre. And, well, the blokes who we called for their head all played well. The whole team played well. It was a great performance.
But it is funny, though, Scotty, what happens and what can happen, because Collingwood, when you allow them to get set, can be an outstanding defensive team across the ground. That's just a proven fact. But every time Tom Stewart got the ball, zero hesitation, just went bang. Back playing good, attacking football. Every time Jed Buse got the footy, bang, took the game on. Sam Simpson, great inclusion, love it.
Washing machines. How good was he?
But did not hesitate. When the ball was constantly moving, we're not talking about tucking under the arm, having 8 bounces here, someone lightning fast running, but when the ball is in motion, Collingwood never got set, and then they're on the back foot. And Stokesy, the Collingwood defence across the whole ground, looked second rate, but because Geelong were prepared to take the game on and play fast footy. We've been pleading for that, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely. I think, it was great to sit back and watch. I mean, I knew that we were okay in the first 2 minutes of the game. I mean, watching Sam Simpson, he might not have had 30 possessions, but he bodylined that footy and he showed that finals toughness that, we sort of spoke about last week. So for him to come in and straight away, there was 3 contests in a row where he was outnumbered and he just gave an absolute great effort to just make the neutral contest. I kind of knew that we were right. But, geez, we made him look second rate. I don't like talking badly about another club because you just don't know the ins and outs of that club. And I don't think we have ever been an arrogant club that we talk about another club. But seeing how free our forwards were open when we went forward was a sign that something was not right. Whether the game last week took too much out of it, whether they still thought they'd done all they had to do in the finals or they celebrated like they did last week anyway. But it was an interesting game. There's so much to take out of it with the confidence. But what we were up against, I'm not too sure. I mean, Collingwood looked like they were done. They were physically and mentally done, and they looked like they gave up. And it's disappointing because I grew up as a Collingwood man. Obviously, I really don't care about too much about it now. But to get to a final and to be put to the sword, and they're lucky they kicked those last couple of goals to make the scoreline even half remotely good. It was a pretty disappointing night from them.
1 goal to 3/4 time, and then, as you said, 4 goals in that last quarter. The look on the face of Braden Maynard at times kind of summed it up, where his opponent was marking the footy and getting the ball and going back and kicking. But as he's just sort of lying there with another mark being taken on him, just this pleading, desperate, almost helpless look on his face of any chance of helping each other out or pressure or something. And he was obviously getting beaten as well. It wasn't, but just this look of bewilderment on the face. Maybe it all makes sense from their perspective. They were in, Scotty, am I right? They were in a hard quarantine in Perth for 7 days straight.
Yeah.
Play this incredible game of football. They rise, get up in a game they weren't expected to win, come back, the travel, everything like that. Maybe they were just cooked. But I think Geelong also, when a team is right there at the tipping point of maybe being cooked or maybe finding a second wind, if the better team goes whack and just gives them zero confidence, then they're gone. But if you let a team hang around and build confidence throughout a game, they can find something else. Geelong handled it superbly.
Like Mitch Duncan was a great example. The initial shots, you see Greenwood on him and you're like, oh, Mitch. And the look on his face was like, oh, this is going to be fun. But then they either released that tag after 10 minutes and he went to Joel or something happened.
No, that was a little bit of I think, just a little wrong read throughout the game. Week before, Levi Greenwood did not start in a single centre bounce against West Coast.
Then went to Kelly.
Started on the wing, went to Kelly. That's all he was doing on the weekend. So he happened to be standing next to Mitch Duncan at the centre bounces, but went to Joel. He was on Joel from moment one, never on Mitch Duncan. So Mitch, I think,
he should have been on Mitch.
So Mitch happily realised, he's not actually coming to me. There's freedom. And nobody else then rolled over on the Mitch and had a picnic. But it was Joel that Levi was going to, and that didn't work, and that eventually got thrown out the window, and they dominated.
Now, the Danes obviously got a lot of attention. I mean, the mix was right. Now, the whole debate about next week. I mean, what is the right mix? It seemed to obviously work on the weekend.
I don't believe myself or Mathew changed our tune all year.
No.
We've felt Patrick as a forward is better for the balance of the Geelong team. There's a better sharing of the load through the midfield. And whether or not he has a game like he did on the weekend, kicking bananas from the boundary and just dominant, or he kicks 2 goals and he's threatening, he still has an influence up there because you have to play a key defender on him who will not leave his side. And Tom and Gary Rowan and these guys all get better looks at the footy.
No, I definitely agree with that. I definitely think that it just shows you what happens when you have 2 really dangerous forwards. It creates absolute carnage and other blokes get out. And, you know, like you said, Danger did have an incredible game. So did Hawkey. Responded to a few people who are quick to point out that he kicked a goal worth of points the week before. So I hope they're quiet this week. But it just gives us such a different look. And with Brisbane and the way they control their backline, they're playing in their home ground, they're going to have their supporters there. If we can create as much excitement from our own forward group with Patrick being there, I think it's a recipe for us to be able to exploit the defence of the Brisbane Lions.
Well, Stokes, you think about the matchups potentially. Andrews goes to Hawkins.
Yep.
He's got to compete and stay with Hawkins because so he can't
play
off
off
and help.
Yeah.
Then it's either probably Darcy Gardner or Ryan Lester on Dangerfield. Again, has to lock down.
Give him the 50. Give him the 50.
Clear that out.
Whichever other one goes to, say, Gary Rowan. Then you've got
Starcevic,
Yeah, then you've got Myers, Ablett, Sam Simpson, some sort of combination of those. Grant Birchall, all of a sudden, has to play on somebody and on somebody who is extremely threatening. He can't just do his thing. Andrews isn't there to help. I mean, Dangerfield being there makes it a nightmare for Brisbane, doesn't it?
There was a time where another number 35 used to wipe us out of the forward line and try and push us up the ground because he had I think we might have the return of that this weekend. We might have the good old Chappie Dangerfield get out of my way this weekend. And I'd actually really like for us to pay close attention to Daniel Rich. I mean, his drive from the half-back line for a bloke who's been around for 15 years who can kick at 70 metres still doesn't get the attention of the handballs around the back, around the 70-metre mark from goal because he's a bloody dangerous kick, a long kick. He puts him in positions that, are really dangerous places for the ball to be going. So, maybe if Sam Simpson does go play in the half forward or Dowhouse and it's not a tag or, a hard lockdown, it's just to keep an eye on him because he is bloody dangerous on that half-back line.
The other thing I'm liking is the Reece Stanley Blitzarves, Reece flying forward a lot early and catching teams unaware. I mean, they've got a good rhythm to whatever they've sorted out there. And that'll work against, McInerney and Martin. Like, they can expose them going that way. I think Reece has found a good way of doing that.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Scotty, and that's a point I'll have to concede, and I'll say I got it wrong. I thought Blitzarves had to play back all year. I didn't see the Harry and Hendo combination working as well as it has, and Henderson was brilliant again on Saturday night. I thought Blitz had to be there, which left Stanley one out, and that's where Sav had to play. That was my thought throughout the year. But credit to the coaches and to the players involved. Harry and Hendo's worked, which has allowed Blitzarves to play that incredible multifaceted role that he plays, where he's on the wing, but he's a supportive defensive winger. Then he plays ruck at times, which allows Stanley to push forward hard. It's worked. Credit to them for sticking with it because it had some pushback at times from people like me and other people. Yes, correct. And Harry and Hendo have somehow discovered the fountain of youth.
Well, if we're going to be the game in isolation. Great game. This is where we're going to get tested on whether it's where our season goes. I mean, I'm not trying to play devil's advocate here, but we've got to this position a lot of times over the last 4 or 5 years. I think from any Geelong person, we were always a top 4 team. We proved that we were a top 4 team all year. If we don't get over this hurdle, which I'm more confident than I have been all year to say that we have got the right mix in that team to be able to go one step further. But you've got to, we had to win last week, but we've got to win this week because I think for a long period of time we've got to this position and we failed. Whatever way you like to spin it, we've failed and we've come up short. So it all comes back to this week, and hopefully we get a win and we're into another grand final.
It's Stokesy, for some reason, and it's been all year I've felt this. I've felt more confident coming into this final series than I did going into last year's final series.
Yeah.
We were a top place last year. I thought that wasn't a true indication of our team. This year, I feel good about the team, despite the loss. Even just the loss to Port Adelaide, I still, and I said it, and I felt I was going to get smacked from everywhere for bias, but I still thought it was a Geelong-Richmond grand final, even after the first week of results. And that's Brisbane and Port Adelaide winning. I believe strongly in the team's ability to get over this week, playing the grand final, and I think it's going to be against Richmond. I think Richmond beat Port Adelaide on Friday night. Is that delusional? To be that confident?
No, I think I share it with you as well. But I think a big thing is physically in previous seasons, we're limped here a bit, like particularly Patrick Dangerfield. I mean, he hates not playing, we know that, but he hasn't been physically at his peak in September the last couple of final series. He's coming here completely ready. Joel, as we know, is rested. He's got the finger, tomahawk. They're physically better than they ever have for this. That's my big take.
There's also a better sharing of the load too, though.
Yes.
The one thing I do want them to get, if I was Kevin Dickinson, the media guy, was stop talking to the media.
You wouldn't want to be.
No. To stop the narrative of we should do this for Patrick.
I think Cam Guthrie came up with that himself, didn't he? Sure.
But I've heard it a couple of times that the older guys. The older guys are older guys. Don't feel sorry for Joel Selwood. Joel Selwood's got 3 grand finals. And Guthrie, go win one for you because you deserve it. You've worked your absolutely butt off to get to a position that you're now an All-Australian and you're one of our actually best players. Go out there and let's not talk about grand finals, but let's get to the grand final first. But
yeah.
The narrative of, and we've said it, we'd love to be able to get the older boys one more before they go. Well, what about a Mark Blitzabs or a Tom Stewart who had to play at South Barwon for 4 years or 3 years and work here? So Tom Atkins, I'd love to see him back in the team and be able to get an opportunity. Jack Henry, it's not so much about the older boys. It's about the team collective, and that's the way you're going to get to a grand final, and that's when you win a grand final, is when you go in with that mentality that we're going to do it for each other, not just for one individual or individuals in team. So
I agree.
Here's a little bit
to defend Guthers, I felt like that was maybe just an answer to a question, and he was trying to be selfless. But you're right. The mindset is just do it for each other. Do it for yourself, your own personal motivation, a dream that you've held on to since you first picked up a footy. It's about the collective of achieving something incredible in a bizarre season. Not let's win one for Paddy, let's win one for Gaz in his last game, let's win one for Joel. Absolutely, they're going to be part of it. It's a great point you make, Stokesy, and I'm sure that's probably what it is internally. I definitely just trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, and Garth is that type of bloke, but it's just something that popped up a couple times. I just had to nail that down.
Before we take a break, any changes?
No. It is. Sam Simpson was outstanding. No, Jack Henry, all the play. Ryan, he was great. Everyone was good. No change.
To tag or not to tag?
Well, they won't.
Neil.
We know they won't.
They won't, but they need to.
Someone has to have awareness around stoppages. Isn't that the new sort of buzz term? And who is that? Well, it used to be Guthrie, but I don't think they will.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the thought that I've been watching Lockie really closely this year. Like, the fact that people still try and talk that he actually doesn't hurt teams is just a ridiculous.
Well, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
He is the best player in the competition. And we need to stop him, because I think if you can break him down, I mean, what else do their midfield is a good midfield, but it's not a deep midfield.
Yeah.
There's another.
They've got to watch McCluggage.
McCluggage is a gun.
Who's that?
McCluggage is a gun.
Yep. He's a very good player. I wouldn't say he's a gun. There's another person in that midfield that I will put some work into, though, Cameron. Who would that be?
Oh.
From Brisbane.
Zorko? No.
No.
Jared Berry.
Jared Berry.
Big-bodied.
Yeah.
Sets up a lot of what they do.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny you make a really good point there. It's quality, that midfield, but it's not that deep. If Neil can have 22 disposals and not hit the scoreboard, McCluggage the same, and Berry can just fight and scrap for his, there's not that next level that you can go to really confidently.
Yep.
But if Neil has 30, 1 or 2, and McCluggage has 22 and kicks 2, and Berry gets going and brings some of the others into it, it can be a real A-grade midfield. But, yeah, if you can fight through that top quality, that top level of theirs, then there's, Zorko's dangerous, but he hasn't got the legs as much anymore. It's a good point you make, Stokesy.
Thank you.
I like it. Always. We better take a break. I want to get to some questions, and I want to talk about a teammate of ours, Mathew, who's now Collingwood, well, now a retired player, but was a Collingwood player, who announced his retirement during the week. A wonderful bloke. Before we do, you sent me a photo the other day, both of us a photo. You were just enjoying some of our sponsors' product during the week. Town and Country Pizza. Just straight into it, Mathew. Was it nice?
You remember that one, do you, Cameron? We were talking about it so much during the podcast. I couldn't help myself, Cameron. I'll be the first to admit. At least I shared it. I didn't try to hide it. I didn't try to run around the corner at the river and then jump behind a bush because he saw me.
If I didn't have little Jed with me, I would have done that too. I would have gone behind a tree, but I had to look after him. Town and Country Pizza are continuing our extra COVID-specific policies and procedures to ensure safety of employees and, importantly, our customers, both in-store and on delivery, including no-contact delivery. I'm sure that's what Stokesy just got. With the introduction of a Tuesday night deal at all locations, customers can order $15 large pizzas, any variety, to make it easier for all to bring a little joy into their home. There is simple and easy to use online ordering, always available at townandcountrypizza.com.au with multiple payment options. That was a Tuesday night you sent the message, wasn't it? Did you get the little Tuesday night special?
It was special.
It was. And I'd like to just say the Southwest chicken is unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Little Wilbur was stealing my pizza, and normally I'm a very sharing dad when it comes to my food, but it was kind of, I was kind of like I was in jail. I had the food.
Right, there's the little tip from Stokesy. What was it? Southwest chicken.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, there you go. Try that one out at Town and Country Pizza. Let's take a break. We'll get to your questions, and we're going to talk Travis Varcoe after the break. Welcome back. Great to have you with us on to the final bell. Stokesy's here, Scotty Gullan's here, and we appreciate the support of Panther Tyres. We also, as we've done most of the season, appreciate the support of Deakin University. Digital is in Deakin University's DNA with 40 years of experience in distance and online learning. Discover why they're the #1 Australian public university for overall educational experience. Premium, proven, loved. Study online at Deakin. We're going to get to your questions, but just before we do, the retirement was announced during the week of Travis Varcoe after Collingwood were eliminated from the finals. Travis Varcoe, 92 games with the Pies, but we will always remember him as a Cats man. Stokesy, 138 games for the Cats, 130 goals. 2 premierships, 2009 and 2011. Won a VFL flag in 2007 as well. Was part of the trade with Mitch Clark and Heretia Lumumba. Unfortunately, Collingwood won out on that trade very, very comfortably. But what a career Travis Varcoe has had. And I loved him as a teammate, Stokesy, because every time he took the field, he did everything he possibly could to make his teammates better. He chased, he tackled, he pressured. He had class. He had beautiful ball use. Finished in some really important moments. And if one moment or a collection of moments stands out most amazingly in my mind was that 2011 grand final. That goal he kicked in the last quarter was a thing of absolute beauty. Involved in defence, involved in the wing, on the wing, and finished on the left foot under pressure as though he was just having a kick of the footy in the park and it was the easiest thing in the world, despite probably sheer exhaustion and a huge moment. A wonderful footballer and a terrific career for Travis Varcoe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Travis was one of my favourites. I think all my teammates are my favourites. I think every time I say on this, but
that's why we love you.
I've been speaking to Travis a fair bit over the last last month or so, just to feel him out on how he's travelling with everything. Obviously, I knew time was coming to an end, and wanting to see if I could help in any way, shape, or form when it comes to him exiting the game. But his sheer exhaustion of the football and what it's done. He could tell pretty quickly when I started to speak to him. Spoke to him the day of the game on Saturday, and he was, he would have loved to meet. I'll just go out there for 2 minutes against Geelong, and then happily walked out. And he wished there was the vest was still about, because he would have loved to be able to come on and just say thank you and then walk off. But amazing career. I think my fondest memory is that goal. I just love everything that goal stands for when it comes to Travis Varcoe. That's exactly who Travis is as a player. But I think our funniest parts of Travis Varcoe, and a lot of people out there won't know, is how quickly he can fall asleep. Early on when we first got to the club, Bomber, he waffled on a little bit about things, and Travis didn't have the longest attention span of a teammate. And all of a sudden, there'd be some deep breathing come from the start, from the front of the meeting room. And Travis sometimes would fall asleep. And Bomber, we all talk about how hard Bomber was. But if there's one person who had a soft spot for, it was Travis Varcoe. Travis would fall asleep and he'd be asleep the whole meeting. And nothing said. And I love that about Travis. Travis was always just Travis, never dressed up. He always wore his baggy clothes. Worst fashion sense than Tom Lonergan, but just an extraordinary teammate. I mean, it was a pleasure to play with him, and I love going past Millwall Street and those photos. If you've got Gary Ablett one arm, Mark, you've got Polly Farmer, and then you've got Travis Varcoe with his arms out like this after he kicked that goal. I think that epitomises what we stood for that year, and that grand final is exactly that. We won it on the back of his start, and he finished it.
And not too many players could come in and take on number 5 as well, Scotty, and just do it with no worries at all.
It's funny. Early doors for the first few years, he was a man of very few words for the media. Like, he was hard work. You can talk to Travis. Like, okay, it'd be like 3-word answers. Yeah, mate, you're going good. Yeah, that was it. That's all you'd get out of him. But then, as he got more of not a statesman, but he became really good in the media. And, he dedicated his victory and stuff. He was very passionate about his people and stuff. He was outstanding by the end of it. But I remember him as a man of very few words early doors.
He certainly was that. Taken pick 15, the 2005 draft. And I think it was a broken foot in his draft year.
He had foot problems for a little while, didn't he, at the start of his career?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah, and came in and, he was quiet. But I found him, Stokesy, and I'm sure you were the same. And it's probably why you loved him so much too, because you two shared these similar traits. I found him such a caring teammate. He'd always come up around games wanting to know how he could help me out, how he could help another teammate out. Ling, you're playing on whoever it might have been, Don't Swan. oh, what can I do to help? He was just always so giving and caring within his own game and his own expectations, what he needed to do within his role. He'd be working up and down the ground and flying everywhere and absolutely working his backside off. But he'd always want to make it easier for you as a teammate. And I just loved that about him. And then, as you said, his gentle nature off the field, but then he could have just a little bit of fun and a bit of cheekiness, and you could have a really good time with him as well. A really caring, high-quality teammate. So, wrap that he got to have a wonderful career, 230 games in total.
It's a great effort.
And will be long remembered. And you're right. That's celebration too. It's a pretty handy celebration after you've just kicked one of the great grand final goals ever.
He's just ran 150 metres. I reckon I ran 30 minutes to hug him, and I was bugging, and he was still running away from me. I couldn't believe what he was doing. But it was a great celebration and something that I think Geelong people will always remember. And even seeing the little stuff on social media, I mean, everyone straight away is the 2011. We've got to thank him and Tommy Hawkins for that. So.
And there's one little moment too, 2009, that gets forgotten. There's the topo. There's the Rook marking contest. There's the Chapman goal. There's one little possession in between there. Yes, the Varcoe handball at the base of the pack just shovels it out to Chapman to kick that goal. He was involved in a very memorable passage of play for the Cats. So enjoy retirement, Travi. Looking forward to catching up with him when we get to have a reunion again. And been on the text with him. He's been very appreciative of all the love and support he's got this week. So well done, Travi. Let's get to the questions from our listeners. This one is from Larry David. I'm assuming not the creator of Seinfeld. Is that Larry
we
David?
Have a lot of reach. We are wide reaching.
Yes, we do. How good was Sammy Simpson with the socks up, in capital letters, socks up?
Oh, I hate the socks up. I hate it.
Who were the best ever socks up players?
Oh. Who did it in your team? Oh, you're a socks up man.
Yes. I was a socks up. Chappie was a socks up.
James Kelly,
Kelly, socks up.
There weren't many. Oh, I mean, the ruckmen always have it because they need to wear shin guards. Dangerfield goes occasionally socks up.
Peter Riccardi, was he a socks up? Oh,
he was. Scotland, good get. The great Peter Riccardi. I reckon the generation before ours, Stokes, he was a lot more socks up.
Yeah. No, they don't bring me and you in the same generation, mate. How have I been brought into this?
How old are you now?
How old I feel. I'm David Wiraponda. I don't have a birth certificate. I'm actually only 18. I'm going for the draft this year.
Brilliant.
Socks up.
Socks up, I think. Yeah, if I had to give it... Riccardi, that's a good get by you. Peter Riccardi, the Rolls Royce, just rolling around on that left foot. And when I first started, I was a little forward, as you know. Maybe not so little. If Riccardi rolled around on that left foot, you committed to your lead a little bit harder than you committed to every other lead. Because you knew if you got even a half a metre break on your opponent, that ball was going to hit you right in the middle of your chest, and you basically couldn't help but mark it. So maybe we give the best ever socks up to the Rolls Royce.
Yeah, give it to him.
Yeah,
so Chappie has a fair say on that one as well. So Uncle Paulie and Riccardi can be together. Jackson asks, who is the one player you'd want in the 2007 to 2011 team from the current team? You'd want in. Oh, okay. So the current player that we could put into our team, Stokes. Who could we put in to replace Stokes?
No one. I would like a little bit of Irish love in that. I'd love Merrick.
Mark O'Connor.
The Shark.
We didn't have any Irishmen on our list during that time, did we?
No. I'd love Luke Dowhouse's little giggles.
Not another pesky little forward. We had you and Burnsy and Trav.
Then I can blame someone who's got a shorter kick than me and who's got shorter legs.
Moons could yell at somebody else.
Yeah. And when someone tells me to mount their man, I'll tell him to man up mine.
The obvious answer, is Patrick Dangerfield.
No.
But you tell me how we could fit into the midfield the
Couldn't get a go.
personality, ego, and wanting to be in the centre. Ablett, Joel Corey, Bartel, James Kelly, Paul Chapman, Steve Johnson, Joel Selwood, if I haven't already said him, and then throw in Dangerfield. And plus, I wanted a little run in the midfield every now and then. There'd be fist fights to get in the centre bounces if you threw Danger in there as well.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't fit.
That'd be entertaining. I'd love to sit back and me and Moons would just sit back and watch you idiots tear each other apart. Yeah, look.
I know there's an obvious one. There's an obvious. Oh no, maybe not so.
There's not a lot of obvious.
Blitzars would just be incredible in any position he plays, but I'm not willing to move anybody out from that team. So I'll always say I'll go with our team.
No, I'd say I'll go with our team. I don't want any of these present players who need to be.
Now you are sounding like an old man, Stokesy.
Nah, look, if they win this week and then they win the next week, then in 5 years' time, they'll be talking about who from this era can go into that era. I mean, that's how special it can be if they get through 2 more games, Cameron.
I like it. Isaac asks, score prediction for the Port and Tigers game. I've got the Tigers winning, but I've probably been unfair on Port all year.
I think Port can win. I think Richmond are going. Like St Kilda didn't offer much last week, and Jack Rewald has had a kick. He controlled it. I don't think they're humming as well as they have previously at this time of year.
Stokesy?
I think Port win. I'm going with Port because of Kenny Hinkley, but I'm also going in that I trust Travis Varcoe.
I too would like that for Kenny and Varcoe for them to win. I just feel Richmond get the job done.
Get Varcoe, get a premiership at Port, then he can come back to Geelong.
Oh, another 38-year-old.
Oh, hang on.
We'll just keep retirement villages open again. Unbelievable.
Geelong Football Club superannuation account. Joe asks, sliding door questions for Mathew, Scotty, and Cameron.
Oh.
There's a couple of, we'll try and be punchy for Joe's questions. What career would Mathew Egan have had if not injured? Great question.
Well, he would have played in multiple premierships.
Taylor's career.
Well, yeah, good call. Harry's career wouldn't have been as good. No.
We don't draft Harry, probably. Maybe, I don't know. Wellesley might disagree. We probably don't draft Harry if Ego, who's just been All-Australian centre back, doesn't have a career-threatening injury.
I think that's a fair stretch that, I don't think Harry would have been Harry.
No.
I mean, knowing Harry, if he just needed a chance, he probably still has the same career somewhere else. I mean, maybe not.
He would have got on the
flags,
list. Yeah.
He just wouldn't have left any stone unturned and would have turned himself into an incredible player.
Yeah.
But Mathew Egan would have had that career, and that's the heartbreaking nature of it. And one of the talk about great teammates too, Stokesy.
Oh, what a ripping bloke he was.
Mathew Egan, yeah.
One of the greats.
Legend. Stokesy, would Shane Mumford have stayed if selected for the 2009 Grand Final?
Sausages.
Oh, look, I think we got to a stage, and I think we're getting to this in our industry now, is that I hate the free agency. I hate it with a passion. There's no loyalty. Guys who are getting hundreds and thousands of dollars who don't deserve it because they're afraid, the clubs are afraid that they're going to leave and get nothing for it. I really hate this era of this free agency and how it moves, because we're turning into the NRL, which I'm wearing a Rabbitohs hat who play this week, and we're turning into the NBA, because we are the amount of money that we are tuning up with players on potential is ridiculous. But Mummy he got offered a huge amount of money, and we loved him as a player, and I think we were hoping that he would stay, because on the back of him and Otto, we could have made even bigger conquests, I reckon, over that period of time. But at the end of the day, he made a decision to go to Sydney. And he talks about he's got a helicopter and stuff because he went there. So good luck to Mummy.
I think we made two mistakes with it. If he'd been selected and if we had found a little bit more money, I don't think we needed to match his offer. I think if he'd been selected for 09 and we had found a little bit more in the purse for him, we would have kept him.
So what happened? Did he fall out late in the season or get injured and then he was out of it, or what happened? My memory doesn't.
Another decides he was on leave for the first 18 weeks of the year, and then decided he wanted to play finals. What he done every year.
Oh no,
of course,
absolutely.
It's probably another entire podcast altogether, that selection process, Scotland, as to how it was arrived at. Versus what happened in 2007. But we are here to celebrate as opposed to denigrate.
We're going to reveal next week. The reveal. Tune in.
And then Joe continues with, if both had full Geelong careers, would there have been additional premierships? If Mathew Egan had kept going and Shane Mumford had stayed, would there have been additional premierships? I think Harry coming, helped where Ego was. I think the handover, the baton handing over of the ruck would have just flowed perfectly from Ottens to Mumford.
For like 12, 13, 14, sort of that era. Yeah.
Well, so Otto finishes in 11.
Yeah. Would have been better place.
Would have been his 2IC through that whole period.
Yeah.
And Mummy then takes over as number one ruck for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So if you determine that Geelong's lack of a genuine A-grade ruckman during that time cost them any premierships, then you would say Mumford there.
That's a fair point.
I'm a person who likes to just celebrate what we had and not what ifs. Because if you go to what ifs, we should have won more. But if you try and worry,
take three.
You take bloody three and then the bloody three.
Don't torture yourself thinking about what ifs. Okay, Mathew, I like it. You're setting us forward on a nice positive path.
And we're about to have 4. We're about to have another one this year.
Hey,
yes,
we're on board.
Hopefully we are back next week talking about Cats having knocked off the Brisbane Lions. And
wait, can I ask a question? What happens then if we do win and Joel is now the new last Premiership captain? What happens to all your cashies?
Yeah, they're gone. They get stopped.
COVID's destroyed that anyway.
No, I've been hearing some rumours out there.
Yeah, TV appearances have gone up, spiked suddenly.
I will be the number one front of the queue to give Joel the greatest hug ever. I can't wait for the moment that he is a Premiership captain and a 4-time Premiership player. He will be the only
Cats
4-time. Would that be right? Yes. And this is, what did I hear on the weekend? This is his 10th preliminary final coming up.
In
that
13 years. It's not bad.
10 preliminary finals. That is ridiculous and not surprising though, knowing that man. So no, I will to be the second last Geelong Premiership captain will fill me with incredible happiness. I want Joel to do it. I love that man and love the captain that he is and the player that he is. But we have a big hurdle to get over on Saturday night, 7:40 at the Gabba. Cats play well at the Gabba. I don't know about the fact that it's a home ground for the Brisbane Lions. It should be a ripping game to take on, I believe, the Tigers. You two believe Port Adelaide. In the grand final. I think quickly think back to the last time Geelong and Brisbane played in a preliminary final, 2004. Brisbane got over the line by 9 points.
You should have won that. I remember
young little pups. I think we had 62 inside 50s.
Gaza and
outplayed them for big chunks of time.
If Wellesley drafted me earlier, I would have got us over the line. But
that's basically what happened.
I think Wellesley was still sleeping on me. Probably 100 kilos at that stage.
Thank you, Mathew. Next time I see you running around the river, I'm going to put on one of the biggest sprints ever, so I look like I'm flying.
Your hamstring, Cameron. You can't be fast.
That's correct. Thank you, Scotland. You enjoy your weekend. We will talk next week.
Look forward to it, Cameron.
Enjoy the game. Thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you to our sponsors. Big thanks to Panther Tyres, who've been supporters all year. We will be back next week, hopefully with the Cats in a grand final.